Immaturity.
We can work on that. We can work on that. Yeah, it's, I actually feel a lot worse.
So I think the first one was Encanto, the second one was and then I forgot. Is it the first two? And then like three of them were just cute. That I'm reading. Es que estos me encantan.
Which one am I on? If you haven't grabbed a little cheat sheet for your gift, you're going to need it for class today.
And it's much as we think all of these. Right. Quite a unique eater.
I think it seems like giving away his props. Hey, what's up?
You these for the class.
Yeah, whichever one you want.
Oh.
So number one, yes. Number one, spiritual gifts. Trust the theme.
That was fantastic. It was like, I don't know why. Did you survive?
Servant.
Yes.
Of just who I think you are. Okay. Is that the time you want last night?
I know. Just seems so strange. You're supposed to get it.
Your number one spiritual gift.
But,
We both take one, or you're administrative?
No,
No, you weren't?
no. I was giver. What was his name?
Lord Chris,
Good morning.
did you survive?
I did. It was, it was a lot of fun. I thought I was a servant. I actually graded out.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, just
Okay. And then maybe y'all made a mistake.
All right, we're going to get started with our class this morning.
If you did not have an opportunity to come grab your cheat sheet, not only this is going to be very helpful in what we are doing today, but also if if you aren't a diligent note taker as we went through this whole study, this is a great thing. I mean, you can take it, stuff it in your Bible, and then you will always have it, right? You don't need to worry about which one. Which one are you, Oliver? You don't care? Which one do I want you to be? Okay. I want you to be a servant.
Okay. That's good.
This will help remind you as we not like I said, not only today, but into the future. It'd be a good, just helpful aid. But for today and what we're doing today, I'm guessing it's going to be very helpful in the discussion that we're going to have. Here's the thing, folks. So this is my binder. This is what all my binders look like. Nice and organized, even though I scored very low in administrator. They have tabs on them, right? For each chapter or each lesson that I'm doing. And then when you get to today's lesson, there's nothing in here. Okay? There are no notes. I have no notes. Okay? I got nothing. So, And we got 45 minutes to fill. So we're going to be doing some things today and that I am 100% reliant on you all. Because as I pointed out in every single lesson that we've been going through in this class, and including last week, of, hey, be thinking about these things because at the end we're going to have a discussion. That day is today, all right? So, as we discuss these things, please raise your hand, volunteer, talk about what you think this area and this thing should be and what this church should look like, or what you see through your lens of your individual spiritual gift, what that's going to look like. Here in a little bit, we're going to do something that some of you might not like, and it involves moving to different areas in this room. Everybody groan, I know. But if you do it very quickly, we'll get over it also very quickly, all right? So just keep that in mind. First thing, we've been looking at this breakdown for our church for the past 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And again, every class I've been saying, hey, look at these numbers. What do you think they mean? And so that's my question today. What do you think they mean? Our highs, our lows, our averages?
Means we have a good mixture of people.
We have a good mix.
Yeah, we do.
Kind of a mixed bag, except for our prophets. We just got the one, and he's not here. Jeff's not here today. So. If you need someone to deliver bad news, go find Jeff. He will do it for you. We do. I agree, Henry. I think we do have a good mix. I think it would be alarming if one of these areas, like in the red, that we're like extremely low in one of these areas, but we're not. We are low shepherding and mercy givers. Doesn't necessarily mean an overall bad thing. Monica?
I think these numbers also kind of represent that even though these are only showing the number one, like I know for me, I'm high in some of the ones that are low. So, but it's not represented in these numbers here.
Yeah.
So a lot of us have lots of different things that are going on with us. These numbers. So we're still doing fine. And
Yes.
right?
And that is important to point out. I had several people come up here and say, it's like, well, I scored the highest in 2 categories. But also, I mean, if you are, in the assessment here, if you were, 1 or 2 points off from, your first to second place, it might just be dependent on the day and the circumstance that you find yourself in. As to which one is going to kind of rise to the occasion through opportunity or just if it needs to, right? Like I said, I did not score high in administration, but I can do administrative tasks okay. What else? I was looking at these numbers like, speak to me. Say something.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah.
A lot of today's world, you don't hear a lot of encouraging things about Christians in the church. And even when I've gone to other places, like in other states, it's really hard to find an encouraging, welcoming church. And it's not surprising our church is so high. Because when you do come in here, you do feel a sense of home and encouragement. And I think more churches need to follow our example on how to be the encouragement in the world more than just you know,
We are 11 points higher than the average in encouragement. Would anyone else agree with Crystal that it feels like our church is much more encouraging than other churches that maybe you've been to?
I think so too.
However, Chris, I find it interesting that our mercy score is so low. So, I've been thinking on this, and I'm not sure what the answer is, but it's a whole big discussion, so I don't even know. But, okay, because ultra conservatives, maybe we could be called, I don't know. There tends to be a little bit of a you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of thing that goes through there politically, maybe. And where do we separate that political feeling of, you know, there's too much welfare in the world, there's too much, you know, and mercy and Christ's mercy and what we should learn from the Bible and church about mercy. So I've been thinking on that a lot. I'm like, that is so weird. Why are we encouragement is so high, but mercy's so low? I don't know.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting to me. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm sad that this ultra conservative feel is also kind of people aren't pulling their weight in society, you know, and we're tired of it. We don't want
Yeah.
to, you know, what happened?
I'm not saying that is like that reflection of being high in encouragement and low on mercy is necessarily that, but it could be, right? Of wanting to encourage people to, you know, advocate for themselves. You know, like I'm going to encourage you to do the work for yourself. And what do you think, Kelly? Do you think that mindset can also then, like, you mainly talked about like viewing outsiders. What about people on the inside? Can that mindset also kind of cross over into the church of having a perspective on ourselves of, I'm going to encourage you, but I'm not going to do the work for you?
Possibly. I don't know. I struggle with this one a lot just personally. Maybe that's why I bring it up. Because for some reason, the idea of Christianity seems to have kind of gotten divorced from helping those less fortunate in society, or has politicism made it like we're helping everybody in society so much that they're not
Maybe.
helping themselves. You know, I don't know. But I think about it a lot. I'm like, is my heart bold
Yeah.
when it comes to giving?
I mean,
Yeah, word of encouragement, but I'm not going to give you money because you need to just try harder. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm worried about that personally.
I mean, you look at just the concept of welfare in and of itself. You look back through history, most of the world's benevolent organizations, hospitals, all of these things were Christian organizations. Because they viewed it as, this is one way that we are told to be Christians, and this is how we can do this on a much larger scale than what I can do individually. You bring in government to the situation. Hundreds of years into this whole thing, and it has always been a hot topic issue of how much reach and control should the government have in benevolent type things, organizations like this. And I think for a lot of us, it's just like, well, I mean, that's not the church's role or responsibility. But if you look back through history, the church did take on that role of, like, this is our job to do this. So something to think of. Diane, you got your hand.
I'd like to comment on notes. I guess Crystal, she didn't think that in other places that other congregations, other states were as encouraging as we are. And we are an encouraging congregation. Yet we have met in many states and other countries. And I've found the case most everywhere that we've gone, that they're encouraging people because they're God's people. And so I think you have to put in your work. If you want to be encouraged, you got to be an
You gotta give some to get some. Wes?
I think my lack of mercy comes from people not accepting responsibility for themselves. Because you have so many people who are in bad situations. Sure, some of them it's not my fault. But most of them, when they say it's not my fault, there is something in there that is your fault if you're in that position that you're in. Because you haven't been able to accept the responsibility that was placed upon you.
Potentially.
Or you haven't been able to accept the responsibility that just comes natural to anybody, that you give her.
And
that makes total sense to me of someone who isn't high in mercy, right? Because that's part of this, is understanding what we're low in and knowing that is, because that's a struggle that I have too, right? Like when I see someone, panhandling on the street corner, my mind almost immediately, because I think for so much of us, our consciences have been seared to this because it's so prevalent today that we almost skip over any compassion and go immediately to, like, this person has, I saw a sign the other day. It was just yesterday. There's a guy outside of McDonald's that said, I have 3 kids at home. Down on my luck, anything helps. And in my mind, my immediate thought was, if you got 3 kids at home, like the restaurant that you are panhandling outside of is actively hiring people right now. And so, like, struggling with that. But I would imagine that a mercy giver looks at that situation very differently than me, right? Or any other situation where I might be prone to just skip right over mercy. And I think that's important too, not just for this class to look at our highs, but also our lows. Of what are some areas that I might need to improve on, or at least pause and consider for a moment. Yeah, Judy.
Kind of a twofold comment, and let me start by saying we absolutely love Wyoming, and hopefully we'll be here forever. So let me say that, so nobody beats me up in the parking lot. But we have lived a lot of places and been around a lot of different kinds of people. Wyomingites are just stronger, tougher people. You are. It just is. That's just the way that it is.
so are Nebraska. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, when it comes to mercy, something that, in another place you would be like, oh, please help me, please help me. Whenever here, it's like, no, you know what? Look, we live a little different here. We're a little tougher here. The weather's harsh. Winters are bad. What do you need to do to get yourself up? And I've worked in Cheyenne, a lot of the underserved in different programs, and there are a lot of things available. And we have had a personal experience where we brought people in our home and sat them down and said, okay, here's what you can do. You've got a roof over your head, you have food, your kids are warm. These are all the programs that are available to you. Let me get you to them. And we did. And they're free. And, they're going to help you with childcare. They're going to help you with all of these things. And it just wasn't enough. They wanted to stay with us. And I had to say no. I wanted to say yes. But Dan said absolutely not. And it was the right thing to do. But I'm just saying, that might be part of it. It's just because people in Wyoming, you know what it takes to survive. And if you need a job, if you're panhandling outside of McDonald's, they pay the next, go to work. They give you a uniform, go to work. Whereas maybe in the South, I probably would have given you money and said, don't tell my husband I gave you money. But I'm just saying, it's a little different here. We love it here. Different here. Be part of our congregation. It's a little lower on mercy.
Maybe. Yeah, Jerry?
I think the good news is when you add all those up, you still get 100%. And it reminds me of reading through the book of Acts.
Yeah.
They had the extraordinary gift of spiritual gifts that we don't have. But if you follow God's word and baptize people or you teach people, you're going to get, every congregation is going to have a different set of numbers, but it's always going to be 100%.
Yeah. Do those equal 100%, Aaron? Did you add them up? I hope so too. I think they do. Administrators, good work. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Just want to touch base on, and I'm trying not to be a devil's advocate here, but that mercy also needs to be within our church. And sometimes we find that maybe we screwed up already. And sometimes that's held against you, even though you're reaching out to try to do more. And it always goes back to, oh, well, I remember when, instead of that mercy of forgiveness and allowing you to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So I think that also encompasses within the four walls of which was worship. And then as far as outside those walls, we, the church, are supposed to be the replacement of the government. We're not to be those government programs. I mean, the government is not to be taking care of us. The church is to be taking care of me. And I think sometimes we go, oh, well, they have all these programs and my taxes pay for that, so I'm covered there. Whereas we need to look outside that.
Individual accountability
Yes.
for that. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And what you just said, and we're kind of honing in on mercy here, but I mean, looking at our shortcomings as a church, and this really isn't that much of a shortcoming, but it is an observation, right? Of the, from my perspective, of, like, encouraging people to confess sin in front of their family that just so happens to be 200 people strong. In a church that is very low on mercy, and people, if we can feel an 11% bump in encouragement, I would imagine that we can also feel a discrepancy in mercy too, knowing that, if I do that, there's going to be little mercy to be had or shown to me, and that's where it becomes an issue, right? As far as you're talking inside these walls, right? Yeah. Question for us. For example, and this is where I want to lead us into this next section here, is serving. We have, we're 5% higher in the area of serving, and I think one thing that these numbers could mean for us is looking for opportunity. Servant is already always the highest area in any church. It's always servant. We are higher than average in this one. Nearly 30%, nearly a third of our church, of our family, are people who want to serve, who want to get to work. And if that is the case, then shouldn't we then be thinking and brainstorming both amongst members and our leadership to go, well, how are we using a third of our congregation? Because servants without something to do can become discouraged. They become frustrated. They feel like, well, I don't have a function within the body, whereas we know from Paul writing to the 1 Corinthians that every Christian has a function within the body, but if you aren't using those, then they feel like, what are they called? Vestigial organs, right? They're just kind of leftovers. And I would say that could be said for all of these different areas of, okay, these are gifts. How are we using these gifts? There is this, what do you call this? A graph? I'm calling it a graph. A cross. Thank you, Chris. It is a cross-type shape. If you look at the X and Y axis here, I'm wading into troubled waters. talking about math. But if you look at the top here, tend to be subjective, meaning more prayer, less study. On the bottom of that line, tend to be objective, meaning more study, less prayer. On the lefts and rights, generally exercised through speaking, those gifts, and then on the other side, generally exercised through service. Or I'm backwards here. Generally exercised through service. And so then we have these quadrants that are made for each of these gifts. Just look at the top right, for instance. Servant and mercy giver. Both tend to be more subjective. Less study, more prayer, and are generally exercised through service by actually doing things. I mean, I know some servants who would rather, like not say anything. Just leave me alone. Don't talk to me, and just let me do the work. Mercy givers are more about action rather than they are about encouragers, rather than about speaking. So these are the quadrants that were made for this class and this study. You might disagree with them, but I don't care. Because these are the quadrants that we are going to split into, or actually, what is it when you have a quadrant that's actually 5? Pentadrant? Pentant? Pentet? Doesn't sound as catchy as quadrant, does it? But these are where the groups you're going to split yourselves into. So if we do this quickly, we will be done in the next 10 minutes, I promise. All right. If you do not know your gift, you can either just pick a group and join in the conversation. If you really, really don't want to move, I'm not going to come and force you to move. But I think this exercise will be helpful and strengthening for our congregation. Over here, this section, prophets and missionaries. This section, just gather together in a section within the section. Servant and mercy giver, teacher, evangelist, encourager, giver, and then at the back of the room, shepherds and administrators. Ready, set, go. Prophet, missionary, servant, giver, mercy giver, teacher, evangelist, encourager, giver, and then shepherd, administrator at the back. Prophet, missionary, servant, mercy giver, teacher, evangelist, encourager, giver, teacher, or shepherd, administrator in the back. These are your questions that you guys are going to be discussing. All right? What are 3 things that our church is good at? What are 3 things that we need to improve on? And what gift specific tasks, jobs, ministries, opportunities, volunteerisms can you think of? Every group needs to volunteer someone to be the note taker. Is there? Prophet, missionary? You guys. Look at this group over here. Why? Shepherd administrators, if you want, you can move over here. If not, you guys can stay back there. These are the questions. And you guys can discuss them amongst yourselves. What are 3 things that our church is good at? What are 3 things that our church needs to improve on? And what gift specific tasks, jobs, ministries, opportunities, or volunteerisms can you think of? Ready, set, go. These are servants, right? Jacob's the leader. He's in the middle. You need a shepherd. This group needs a shepherd over here.
doing things like there's all sorts of different
I think that
kids.
Sorry, okay, what are the three things? I think we would have not getting our word out to, yeah. And I think we're being little and a lot of people didn't know what church doing it. And then like, it's right. What we did, I think now what it's. No, they.
It's part of the diagnosis. Profit, shepherd, service. All taken out.
Even when I.
Very separate.
Take care of it.
Three things we need for as long.
Do we have to?
She just pointed at me. What else?
There's a 3 minutes left.
Communicate first.
Well, seriously, I mean, I don't, and I'm sure about doing stuff, but I just think there's a yeah. Like, what's the plan to do with it?
Right.
So, I think already maybe
Like encouraging them to
well,
go.
I thought we were gonna
Encouraging the elders to be more involved.
that would be wonderful. I want an update on the elders being involved.
I see.
Not just.
Okay. I totally get it.
No, we got. You need to say it. Do we have to be? Oh, you want it? And it might not be encouraging, or it might be. We need more pen. Okay, what else? Take some, like.
Take a snack break.
Take the other kids. Maybe, yeah, I mean, they're together, but they're known to be right. First, we need more. Other thing, and
That's a great thing. Yeah, blood fair and square. So, what, give specific tasks, jobs, opportunities, volunteers, anything of what can we do?
Yep.
Right.
Oh, specific needs.
Serving.
All right. I'm sorry. We only got so much time. If you didn't get to whatever question, consider that homework for the rest of your life. Just be thinking about it. We're going to start with this group up here on the 3 things that you think our church is good at. Who is your spokesperson? Jacob. Oh, Jacob's standing. That means everyone has to stand when you're the spokesperson. 3 things.
So the 3 things we came up with was being supportive, our biblical knowledge, and we're very diligent about serving every demographic, especially in the community.
Okay. Serving diversities. Sure. Absolutely. Sit down. Group in the back. These are, so this group was servant and mercy giver. Group in the back is administrator and shepherd. 3 things that our church does well.
Ministries and activities to involve everyone. Welcoming and follow-up, being authentic with our guests.
Okay.
And teaching the word from the Bible and only.
Okay. Very good. There's some crossover already that we're seeing. This group right here. Monica,
Yeah.
spokesperson.
We said serving, being welcoming to everyone, and communication.
Communication. Okay. There's no time for follow-up. I want to follow up. This group over here, 3 things we're good at.
Okay, I'm gonna give them, and Tracy will help me if I miss. Welcoming new people, giving, interactive sermons, our fellowship and our outreach. We take care of business, and we be nice to each other.
Wow.
Supporting each other and including younger kids.
Okay.
That's what we-
Wow. What group is this over here?
Givers,
Encouragers and
givers.
givers.
Including younger kids should be on the we need to improve on that, including younger kids in projects and activities.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start here and go back around with the 3 things we need to improve on. So, including younger kids was on the things we need to improve on. What else?
Following up with new people, pens that continue to write.
What? We're working on it. Okay.
To elders to keep communicating to us what their ideas and plans are for the
Okay.
future. And we thought that could even go on their elders report at the end of our service when they each get up there at different times.
Oh, okay.
And service projects for all ages.
Okay. Very good. This group had communication, right, as a strength. That's something that we're good at. This group said that we need to do better at communicating, which is interesting. What is this group again? This is the evangelists and teachers. It's such like evangelist, right? But I'm the one doing the communicating, right? So like obviously it's communicated well. 3 things we need to improve on this group right here.
We're very type A type of people, so we stuck to the list, you know.
3. 1, 2, 3.
Mercy, prophet, and shepherding, because we thought we were supposed to choose from those.
Oh.
We're very in the box.
But I mean, that says a lot there, right? When you look at those 3 things, we had a great discussion about mercy as areas that how that might happen or what that might look like. What was it? Shepherding and prophets. Okay, we don't like to tell people bad news here. Only good news in this building. The group in the back, 3 things we need to improve on.
We need to improve on stepping up, particularly in the teaching field. We need to take advantage of involving everyone, so plugging everybody in. And that everyone else needs to take advantage of getting plugged in.
Okay. Having a willingness to get plugged in. Yeah.
Correct.
This group here. 3 things we need to improve on.
We need to expand our international ministry. We need to do better about communicating mercy, and we need to do better about encouraging people to go to the elders when they have any issues or problems with the church or in their personal life.
Okay. So not only was this good input, but this was an exercise in showing us that no list was the same, right? Did you notice that no list was the same? There might have been a little bit of crossover in some of these areas, but for you guys in your quadrants here are going to view the church differently. Just because of what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, you're going to view things differently than other people. And it doesn't mean that one opinion is greater than the others, but it does mean that there is a variety of things and a variety of ideas and thoughts that we as a church need to collaborate with each other to move forward in. Does that make sense? Right? As one of the reasons why I wanted to do this class specifically, right? This has been like the theme of our year is growth, and that we're growing, right? Baptisms, people moving in, people placing membership. It's a wonderful and fantastic time. We're having conversations in the leadership group of like, how full is too full? Are we already, behind the point where if we needed to build here in a few years that we wouldn't be able to do it? And, like all of these things, this is what the leadership team struggles with and debates among themselves. But one thing that is obvious, regardless of what our building and our physical structure looks like, is that as we continue to grow, our church makeup is going to become even more important as we think about making sure that the people who are coming in are taken care of, are plugged in, are active, are known, are seen, are heard, all of those things. And that's why this discussion is incredibly important. That's the class. If you wanted to, there are extras up here, so if you did not get a chance to take your cheat sheet, please do so. If you wanted to get your top 3 or your kids or whatever, these are free to take. If you still need to take the test, I have extra copies up here. Next week, we are going to start a class on the 12 apostles. Question?
So the administrators right now are really frustrated because you didn't make it to your third.
I know. Time management, I know, it's already a weakness. I know. Thank you very much. You're dismissed.